Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Roca Pizzeria on Government Street here in Mid-City. Welcome to the Wednesday edition Live Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kinch's back in the studio. Full Wednesday. We're going to change up the order a little bit. Scott Rabley is going to join us here in about 15 minutes from New Orleans. Big meeting today between the athletic directors of the SEC and the Big Ten. There's a lot of things that could come out of this meeting and into the College Football Playoff Management Committee's meeting next Tuesday in Dallas. All of this is about, number one, going to a 14 or 16 team playoff. There's SEC scheduling implications, including the championship game, that are involved in this. A lot to go over with Scott that we'll talk about in the next segment. Randy McKay, professional sports handicapper, will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Wes Reynolds will be with us. We got golf picks and a lot of college basketball. Big night last night, another big one coming up tonight. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Like I said, there's plenty to mull over from last night. LSU got their easiest win of the year by far in Southeastern Conference play. This was the game that we've been pointing at. This is a game LSU will be favored in. It's a game they should win. And they didn't mess around. They came out. They took control immediately. Mm-hmm. They dominated the first half. South Carolina never got it any closer than 9. LSU led this thing, not quite from wire to wire, but pretty close. They led for 38 and a half minutes in this thing. Big nights for Cam Carter. They changed up the starting lineup a little bit. This was the game we thought they would win. Winning any more is going to be tough, but they got this one last night. They covered with ease, and good for them. They got 2 games against the bottom of the league. They won them both.
I mean, I had them.
Yeah, I had them.
I'll take it.
Sure, I had them too.
Look, I mean, a little bit of momentum in stealing that game in Norman.
Yes.
And we talked about South Carolina, their home and road splits. We talk about it with more, better teams usually, but even a winless team they're so much better at home.
Their margin of defeat on the road was just under 19 points going into last night's game.
One of our contributors from time to time.
About 14.
Guy from VegasInsider.com, he texted me yesterday. He said, why is this line short? And I said, you know what? All 3 of us on the show guessed the lines, and we guessed 3, 4, and 4.5. So we think it's a little short too. And I said, no, I think if anything, they got a little bit of pep in their step. I mean, it's a nice win in Norman. I mean, it's the best win of the season.
A game that you feel like you've lost with 25 seconds to go, and you end up winning.
Well, I understand that, but Charlie, anyway, that's their best win. I don't care how they do it. If they were up 30 and held on to win by 1, stole it at the end. I mean, just you're beating a team that's in the tournament right now on the road. That's a damaging. If they don't make it, that's probably the game that's going to knock them out. So just a little, man. They still got to go to practice every day. But man, when you get a win, winning cures everything.
Something good to happen to them.
It just gives you, you're a little bit more excited to go to practice, man. Instead of, some positive reinforcement. Yeah. And so, they took care of business, man. And they were clearly the better team last night and won comfortably. And and you look at their record, South Carolina's one really good road, I thought, was at Vandy. And Vandy needed a buzzer beater to beat them. I mean, it's tied with seconds to go. Besides that, you talked about it. They've got beat, but against much better teams usually than LSU. But it's just 2 in a row. I mean, it's modest. There's no doubt. The crowd was certainly modest. Max told me about 23 to 2,500 actual. But hey, cash that ticket, man.
Sure. And look, I think it's a very settled for now situation with LSU basketball. They have 5 games remaining on the regular season schedule. They're all against top 25 teams. They will be underdogs in all of them, significant underdogs, I think, in
Read them off
probably
for me.
Florida at home.
Oh,
12?
That's oh, no. I
10?
don't. Maybe 10, but 8 to 10, something like that.
Tennessee at home.
A little 8-ish.
Okay.
8-ish.
At Mississippi State. They decided they wanted to play in the second
Yeah,
half last
thanks
night.
for playing defense last night, Bulldogs. I mean, my gosh. I mean,
10.
yeah.
At Kentucky. 10, 12.
Double digits, yeah, 12.
A&M at home. 8.
3 or 4.
Oh, you think they're low?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're not a high-scoring team.
Now, LSU will have lost conceivably 4 more in a row at that point.
4.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, 4.
So
I mean, A&M was a dog at State last night.
All right. So
I mean,
you're dogging all of these games, a significant dog in most of them, and then you'll go to the SEC tournament. Whatever happens, and that'll be the end of the season. But here's what you know. You know that Matt McMahon is coming back. You know that he's going to be given more resources, and then we'll see how the offseason goes, what he's able to do with those resources. Finish out the season the best you can. If you steal one in the SEC tournament, or if you miracle one of these games, fantastic.
I think one game they'll be in of the remaining ones. I
Tennessee-
can't say hard to say.
Tennessee has the ability to go cold from the field at times. I'm not suggesting in any way that LSU is going to win that game, but of the 5 teams that they have left to play, Tennessee has got the potential to be cold offensively at times. So finish it out and then get to the offseason. You got a clean slate. You got a reprieve, whatever you want to call it. You're going to be able to go into the offseason. You know the coach is going to be back. You see how many players you want back off this team, get back off this team. Take your new resources and go out and build a roster for next year. And I'm trying very hard to have an open mind about this. More resources means an open mind. I'm happy that they have at least noticed that they weren't trying very hard before. And I don't mean the players, okay? We've been through all of that. Mm-hmm. The rest of the college basketball slate last night, I fell asleep with BYU up comfortably and woke up to the biggest loss, tied for the biggest loss of the Self era at Kansas in 34 points at BYU last night. This has gone from just, hey, man, a couple off games or a slump to a full-fledged not quite disaster, because I mean they're going to be in the tournament. They can rewrite the script on their season, but man, you just don't expect to see Rock Chalk get beat by 34 points anywhere. BYU's not a bad team, especially at home, but I didn't expect to see it, and I forgot they had lost that game. I thought immediately worst loss to the Self era. They lost that tournament game to USC a couple years ago by the same 34-point margin. So that's
really?
I had forgotten about that game. That was that was the bubble tournament. They lost by 34 in that one. I had forgotten about that game, but I don't know what's going on over there. That was the number 1 team in the country to open the season. They have beaten Duke. They have beaten Michigan State. They have they had a close loss against Creighton and Missouri, but it's not like they haven't beaten anybody on the season. Just a couple of weeks ago, they had Houston beat. We both, I think, had Kansas in that game, and a late turnover, a late flurry got Houston into overtime, and Houston won at Fogg. But since then, man, and they got that win against Iowa State, which was a good win. But, man, I don't know what's up with them. Who we have? Andy Isco said yesterday, I don't trust Kansas. A number 1 team that has just completely cratered here in the last couple of weeks.
They are, Charlie, 10-8 last year, 8-7 this year. I mean, 18-15 in the conference at Kansas.
And how many
Hall of Fame coach?
Yeah,
got 2, right?
Yeah, he's got 2, and he's got. If you want to talk about just,
and he left the cupboard loaded for your boy at Illinois that got to the final against North Carolina that year.
He's won 16 times. Okay, the Big 12 regular season title.
16 times.
16 times.
And they're 18 and 15
at Kansas. Over the last 2 seasons, they've lost 13 games. Man, they went 5-year stretches without losing 13 conference games.
This is 2 years in a row. BYU has a better record in conference play than you. The team that smoked them.
And changed coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I don't know what's up with Kansas, but it ain't good. You know what is good?
Right.
The meatballs that you
I got you on. It's the meatballs, man. It's one of the appetizers over here. They set it in like a little puree, man. It is delicious over here. Homemade meatballs with a little basil on it. You talk about really good. It's not just pizza that we do over here at Roca Pizzeria. The Neapolitan pizza is great. It's a thin crust pizza that is, and we it's so much better if you eat it here fresh out the oven than put it in a box because it gets a little steamy. And so, just a little tip there. If you got to get it to go, I understand. But it's by far it's best when you eat it right here. Piping hot right out the oven, Charlie. Piping hot. Yes, we like that. You can do it. You can create your own. But you got pastas. You got a pasta salad that's outstanding that we have over here a lot of the times. I mean, the chicken cutlet sandwich. That's one of the best sandwiches around with that sort of that sesame seed sort of sandwich bread. Mm-hmm. Lightly toasted, really good. They put like a little aioli. It's just really good. And so, anyway, they got all kinds of different things to eat besides just the pizza. So come check it out. We got a great our craft cocktails are outstanding. They work hard. We see the prep work they do with all the mixes and the juices that they do by hand behind the bar. So I'll get my cappuccino over here to get things started, man. And a happy hour is, now we're closed on Mondays, but Tuesday to Friday, 2 to 6 p.m., half off all of our house cocktails, draft beer, and glasses of wine here at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street.
Live at Roca, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, the show's available on demand, LouisianaSports.net, 1045ESPN.com. New Hannycast is up for LSU baseball right now on YouTube. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate. He's down in New Orleans today. Athletic directors from the SEC and the Big Ten, along with both commissioners, are going to be at this meeting that they are going to use to get recommendations for the college football playoff management meeting, which is next week in Dallas on Tuesday. Rab, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. I'm happy to report that, unlike LSU, my NQS is up.
Okay.
Week, so that's good.
All right. This sort of feels like the sports equivalent of the conference at Yalta, except instead of Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt, it's Petiti and Sankey. So here's the things that are on the table, and you tell me how likely all this is. What these two leagues want is they want 4 automatic qualifiers in the playoffs if that goes to 14 or 16 teams. If they get that, a 9-game schedule for the SEC becomes a way, way more likely. A deal between the Big Ten and the SEC for non-conference scheduling becomes way more likely, and a big revamp of conference championship weekends becomes more likely. So you tell me what happens when they come out and talk today, what you expect.
Yeah, I don't think they can make any policy today because the way things are structured with all the conferences in Notre Dame, you have to you still need unanimous approval. But after this contract, you won't. So this will be something very different going forward if you can get past this season, which I don't expect they'll have any big changes this season coming up. But we're talking about the near future and where college football goes from here. And the SEC and the Big Ten basically want everything on their terms, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works out.
Those with the gold make the rules, and if they don't get what they want, they're going to continue to push. Look, the idea of automatic qualifiers to me seems a little bit greedy, but unfortunately I'm a greedy person when it comes to college football. So, Scott, would if the SEC and the Big Ten were guaranteed 4 teams each, then they have agreed, at least in principle, that they'll start an SEC Big Ten challenge, okay? That you'll see Texas play USC and Ohio State play Alabama and Georgia play Oregon and LSU play, Michigan State or whoever it is every year as long as they get those 4. How likely do you think that is? And they'll add the 9th game. They've gone down the road with ESPN. The money will probably be in place. This will eliminate at least half of the rental wins that we're seeing on the schedules right now if all this comes to fruition.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's very great and tantalizing, for most college football fans. I think the big question to me, though, is what's in it for the ACC and the Big 12, other than the fact that they don't go off and try to start their own playoff.
Two automatic qualifiers. And if you look back over the course of the playoff, the 14 playoff, if you would have modeled this out, it's very close. The SEC would have averaged 4.6, I think, and the Big Ten 4.7. If this format for 16 teams was in place over the last 15 years, and the ACC and the Big 12 would average about 2. You leave a spot for Notre Dame as long as they're in the top 14. You leave a spot for the group of 5, and then you have 2 to 3 wild cards, depending on what Notre
Only
Dame does.
2 to 3 at larges?
Well, if you're 16 teams, 4 for the SEC are guaranteed, 4 for the Big 10 are guaranteed, 2 for the ACC, that's 10, 2 for the Big 12, that's 12. 1 for Notre Dame, provided they're in the top 14. That's 13.
And that's a heavy percentage of automatics.
It
you
is.
set yourself up to allow some teams in that aren't.
Well, what happened this year was 2 teams got buys that they didn't think should in Arizona State and Boise State, which is why
the seeding, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the seeding. The only reason they're not going to do that immediately is because it has to be unanimous. And
right.
why would the group of 5 vote for that?
And 2 years from now, it doesn't have to be. Scott, how much pushback do you think is going to work from everybody that's not in the Big Ten or the SEC?
I mean, I think there's going to be some. You've heard some of that from one of the commissioners, Jim Phillips. I think he's with the ACC. Something to that effect, saying it doesn't guarantee true competitive balance in terms of you could get an SEC team or a Big Ten team in there that's like 9-3, and you could have a Big 12 team that's 10-2 or an ACC team that's 10-2 left out or something like that. But I mean, the farther you get down the list, to me, once you get past 8 teams, to me, you're not talking about a lot of teams that deserve to be in the playoffs. Quite honestly. So, it's a power play by the SEC and the Big Ten. They've threatened to go off and do their own playoff, and obviously that's a nuclear option that those other conferences don't want to see happen, and they got them. They, as you said, it's the golden rule. So I think the SEC and the Big Ten get most of what they want to see happen, and we're going to see exactly. Hopefully, we'll see today exactly what they want.
And what they're doing is they're getting their proposals together to bring it to this meeting in Dallas next Tuesday. So that's the playoff part of this. The conference championship part of this, again, we go back to AQs. If the SEC and Big Ten get 4 AQs, then let's just take last year. Oregon and Penn State, who played in the Big Ten championship game, would have been in, and Texas and Georgia would have been in. So, and this idea was kind of floated by the ACC. Instead of having a championship weekend, those games could instead be against maybe the 4th and 5th place teams in the conference, or the 5th and 6th place teams in the conference would play that weekend to enhance their ability to get a wild card. How likely is that to happen?
Well, I mean, again, whatever the SEC and the Big Ten seem to want, I think is likely to happen, and those things sound great and sound plausible overall. I just think it's just more change in college football, like we've seen with the conference realignment and everything. That it's just like one year, Charlie, has always had this expanded playoff. One year sample size. That's all. I just think this is a rush to, not rush to judgment, but a rush to to change the policy and the rules to suit these two conferences before anything else could happen. And I think we might wind up with two conferences anyway. I mean, that's what Mike Martin, the former LSU chancellor, once said. Right? You're going to have the ESPN conference and the Fox conference. So I think that's still where we're headed eventually, unfortunately, and this is just prolonging that.
Well, some of the things that this does make me a little bit squeamish. I'm not wild about the idea of these mega conferences in the first place, but I am excited about the idea of more competitive football. I've seen all of the, Alabama versus the Citadel and LSU against Northwestern States that I want to see.
Charlie, I got to correct your math a little bit, though. They play a ninth quality game right now in the SEC, so you have 3 Rena wins at the most.
Okay? That's
so
fair.
you're eliminating 1/3.
Right.
Okay. Which hey, eliminate any of them. It's. And until you mandate it, nobody's going to do it because you're penalized more for a loss than a quality win. And the loss column is the biggest statistic and the biggest criteria that they look at with the committee.
It is. Scott, what else am I missing? Playoff, 9th game, AQs, conference championship games. What else could come out of this meeting today for the proposals that they may take to Dallas next week?
I think you pretty much covered it. Obviously, the conference championships games is a big thing. The people are saying, and too, I guess you could say, will the season have to start in what is now week 0? Will they have to go to everyone's season start in August now? I don't think I have any answer for that, but I'd be curious to see if that's going to be the case. Now Labor Day weekend has become this big thing. There's a game Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Are they going to have to start before Labor Day weekend? With all that, it seems to me that's a possibility. You can't keep pushing things back when you get closer to the Super Bowl and conference championship weekend. They did notch the championship game, away from that a little bit, but it's still going to be. If you go any farther back, you're getting into these huge NFL games that doesn't benefit college football. So I'll be curious to see if they talk about how the season goes, but I'm with you. I've always been for 9 SEC games for the whole time, and so I hope that comes to pass. And I'd love to see more games where LSU goes back to Nebraska one day, or finally plays Michigan, or Penn State comes to Tiger Stadium. I mean, that would be awesome. But I want to see more. I want to see more development there in terms of how that will come about, because it's but less games against FCS teams is for the best.
And moving that game into a week 0 makes a lot of sense. And yes, I know it's hot in August, but it gives everybody else an additional week off during the season. And it would amount to, in my head anyway, a college football version of the preseason. If LSU's going to play Nichols, do it in August. We've been over this, and everybody could do that. I understand there's budgetary concerns here to play those games against the FCS or rent a win, whatever you want to call it. Move it into August when everybody's excited for football and we'll watch anything. And it gives the players another week off during the season. And it gives them another week of flexibility where their championships are concerned. So I'm all for it, but I don't get to vote, Scott. But I'm dying to see what comes out of this thing today, because this feels like this next week, today and the conference on Tuesday, feel like big deals to me.
I think the biggest thing, Charlie, is the trick bet, because they make so much money in a conference championship game. Man, you want to play an extra game when you got to play 4 more games to get through a 16-team playoff?
Well, they'll recoup the money from the championship games through the playoff expansion. So
you're just going to abolish it? I mean, that's
no. You're not going to abolish it. You're going to end up playing a game between probably the 4th and 5th place teams instead of the 1st and 2nd place teams.
Well, I mean, if you stuck on 16, the best way to do it is give the 2 participants a bye.
Well, you could do. There's a lot of different ways you can do it.
This is not championship game. The 4th and 5th place teams.
You have to call it something different. A play-in game, if you will. I'm trying to get the Citadel off your schedule.
Please, let's do that.
Rab, go see what when the smoke comes out the chimney over there. I'm dying to see how this turns out. Safe travels back, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
United Community Bank, the local way to bank big, with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years. You know, running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you are a partner. Our great team at United Community Bank: Prentice Wilkes, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Cree, David Campbell, and David Henry. Buying, building, refinancing. Right? Friends, I'm getting it all wrong. Again, United Community Bank member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Live at Roca. Live at lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And remember, the show today also brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Dr. Michael Goff and his staff done a fabulous job with our family. So if you got back pain, neck pain, any kind of soreness, anything that's keeping you from moving around or keeping you from getting a good night's sleep, let them help you out with targeting those problem areas and getting you to feeling better. Airline Highway, Plank Road, Jefferson Highway near Drusilla. Dr. Michael Goff, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers.
All right, bring in Randy McKay, our weekly conversation with the big dog. And Randy, now it's outside of football. We're looking at some other stuff. Now, Randy also is a big-time hockey enthusiast as well, from college hockey all the way up.
Has he met our friend Colucci?
But I gotta ask, Randy, what do you think about this little tournament that's going on? It's got a little juice to it, I would say, huh?
Yeah, that goes to show you that, you get these other sports where they just kind of lollygag through their little games, their exhibition games. Hockey, not so much playing for their countries. They drop the gloves. They smack people around, hard hitting, everything involved, and that's the way they do it, and that's why it's a great game.
Randy and I went to the LSU USC game together, and when we came back, we joined Humans, Macero, Kazarian at Barry's, the steakhouse in the basement at Circa. And I asked Macero, I said, because he's from Boston, I said, so they're going from Montreal where they booed the Americans or the national anthem. I said, they're going to boo "Oh Canada." He sent me a video of the last time there was a game in Boston right after they booed the national anthem. We need to get this put in all of our single game parlay or money line parlays, because they're getting booed, Jack,
sure,
on Thursday night. It's coming. So, but we probably won't see the fights because they don't want to. They want to win, and they don't want to cost themselves an ejection in this one. Right? I would think you're on the same wavelength there, huh, Randy?
Yeah, you don't see the fights like you did in the other game unless it's, late and things are getting out of hand maybe a little bit. Maybe you'll see a couple guys that don't enjoy each other's order get into it. So we'll see what happens there. But, this will be a well-played. It should be a high variance type game, well-played. And, the Kachuk brothers really have really been playing well for the United States, and we'll see if they can do it again against Canada on Thursday night.
Where are they from, Randy? The Kachuk brothers.
I think St. Louis is where the dad played, so I believe they were there most of the time growing up. Their dad, I remember very well. Him and Jeremy Roenick were on the same team with the Blackhawks for a while, and then the Blues, and he was a good player and, close to a Hall of Fame type player too as well. So, I remember their dad, and, you're getting a little older when you start seeing sons play for teams that you remember their dads play.
It's Thursday night's game, 7:20 puck drop. Is basically a pick 'em, 5.5. Do you like a side?
Yeah, I would still have to lean to the United States here. I think they got a better advantage in net here with Hellebuck versus Bennington. Bennington had his one run in the Stanley Cup Finals, but ever since then he's been kind of a shakier type goalie. If he doesn't make the key saves at the beginning, sometimes things can get out of hand for him. Hellebuck has a big chance here to. They say he's not a big game goalie, but I think he's had a short sample size, and I think he's one of the best in the game. So I would lean to of course, one defenseman, McAvoy, out for the United States, so they're scrambling a little bit there, but Canada's had their injuries as well.
Randy, what is your off-season futures approach? You know, they put out the odds. I mean, the Eagles roster looks so great, but we know about that championship hangover. It's real. You know, it'll be interesting to see how they handle things. Like Detroit has lost. How many assistant coaches have they lost? I mean, 7. I think something like that. I mean, their staff has been gutted. Year 2 maybe for Jim Harbaugh. Or you sit back and wait for the draft because that's obviously important as well.
Yeah, pretty much look at that after the draft. See where these teams are positioning after the draft, who they get scheduling to. You got to see when them schedules come out, and you can decide there. See where the coaching changes go. I mean, you guys down there hopefully got your coach. I think maybe in Kellen Moore. We'll see. Maybe he's the next. Kind of similar to probably when Sean Payton maybe took over. We'll see if that's a narrative. I'm sure that's a narrative down there for you guys. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But nothing till after the draft and after the schedules come out.
So when you do your power ratings, your NFL head coaching power ratings, where do you put the first timers? Because and what is your opinion of the hire of Kellen Moore? Because it's kind of an incomplete. I mean, he's where he didn't have the best. The best roster, he didn't do quite as well. And when he did, he did just fine. What is your thoughts at such an early age getting he's the youngest head coach now in the league.
So the first-timers usually are back in like the 25 type rankings unless I really feel confident on a guy's ability, if he's shown leadership maybe as a coordinator. I'd still put Kellen Moore ahead of that Tennessee coach. I'm not a big fan of him, but I think he's the worst. I think he's the worst one in the league right now. Him and maybe the Atlanta coach makes a lot of mistakes as well. So he's way down there too. But them are the two that come to mind as the two worst going into next season. But we'll have to wait and see with these new coaches.
Yeah, Brian Callahan goes to the Titans for the Bengals, so they run basically the same stuff that Cincinnati does with Will Levis instead of Joe Burrow. That's kind of fundamental, huh? If you're going to mimic a...
How many games, biggest Tennessee Titans fan in the world this past season, how many games did Will Levis cost him? Almost by himself.
Charlie, I had value in all those numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Charlie bought me a Tennessee Titans T-shirt for Christmas. He presented to me at the Beau Rivage, Randy, because I certainly paid for that T-shirt. Yes,
several times over. For sure.
Yeah, I lost a few bets with them as well, and later in the season probably had a couple against them, so got recouped a little bit. But I could have probably been that T-shirt crew too, so don't feel too bad.
Would you take a quarterback? Would you take Sanders or Ward if they got the first pick? I mean, they're not the best players in the draft, but they're the best quarterbacks in the draft. Would you take one of them, or would you take the best player in Travis Hunter or even Abdul Carter if you like him better?
I would look for a position player rather than taking Ward or Sanders. Ward and Sanders were rated below the quarterbacks that went the year before, so I don't know how good they're going to be. And do you really want to take Sanders and have the Deion show there all the time in Tennessee? Probably not a very good fit there either. So Ward is maybe a little interesting. He's been, he played for a couple teams in college, and he looked pretty good, certain times. But I think he'll be the best of the two.
I mean, Sanders is, you just got to wonder about that daddy ball, man. It just kind of I'm not saying it's, it's definitely going to be a problem. Man, if you can't be surprised if it's going to have some sort of distraction or some sort of problem with that.
Well, you're right, and it complicates. We don't know Shedeur Sanders, like every other quarterback in the first round, is no guarantee to be a dominant quarterback. His father could be John Smith, and we still wouldn't know. Travis Hunter I will be shocked if he is not a great player. Abdul Carter, I will be shocked if he is not an impact player.
You put Abdul Carter in the same level as Hunter?
No, I've got him slightly behind.
Okay, I don't have him in that level.
They're both going to go in the top 5. I'll be shocked if both of them don't go in the top 5.
That's fine, but I'm asking you.
They're the next 2 best guys after the quarterback.
No, because some people put them on the same level, or even Carter, and I just don't.
Hunter's in a class by himself, but Carter's the best pass rusher in the draft.
But, and one thing, Randy, got to remember, too, Ward had one offer coming out of high school. Incarnate Word. He had to work his way up. And this is where the transfer portal and the free transfer rule is fair. This guy earned to be at, to get, a Power 5 at the time at Washington State and then at Miami. He earned that because he on the field instead of, being surrounded by a bunch of, 4 and 5 stars in high school and, and therefore they won it. I'm curious, though, Randy, do you think Kellen Moore is going to be any good with the Saints? I don't want to hear about any, he called the plays for the Super Bowl. Hey, they ain't going to have close to that roster. It never will. Never, ever will. Because, Loomis is still there. And I'm just wondering, we all know the cap situation. They're last by a gap. There's a gap between 31 and 32, the cap situation in the league. How can he be successful with the Saints?
Yeah, and that's the whole main question. How is he going to move on with Derek Carr, quarterback? Can they fix some of them holes they got with that cap situation? It'll come down to offensive line, defensive line strength, which they got probably some talent there. So never know what can happen there. They're in a weak division, which helps. So that's in his favor, but you don't go usually into a good situation when you're a new coach, so we'll wait and see how he does. He's been successful all the way from the, I could have went to his game there when he played Nevada and at Boise State, the big college football game. I kind of regret missing that one. I could have got free tickets to go to that game, but I wish I would have went up to Reno that day. But he's been successful all the way up, so we'll see what happens.
All right, big dog. You got anything you groups on in college basketball tonight? Do you know?
Yeah, we got 5 plays if you guys want them real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
And I'll give you bet numbers with them too, just in case people still use bet number 659 Wofford against VMI, lane 5.5. 703 down in your country, Alabama Birmingham against Rice, at Rice, lane 4.
Okay.
705 South Florida, +2. They're taking on Texas San Antonio. 713 Bradley, -1. Missouri Valley game, they're taking on Illinois State. That's a Missouri Valley matchup. And 718 UMKC, another Missouri Valley matchup, -2 versus Nebraska Omaha. So a lot of smaller colleges there, but that's the 5 we're on so far.
Who's your last pick?
UMKC -2, bet number 718.
UMTC?
Missouri, Kansas City.
Oh,
Kansas City.
Big dog. You digging deep, huh?
I quote Jimmy Ott, we'll take winners from anywhere.
We don't turn our nose up to winners anywhere. That's right. I just handicapped the power conferences. I do dip into the Missouri Valley a little bit. I definitely noticed that Bradley went to Drake, and Drake's like 21-2 this year, and beat them outright as a 6.5-point dog. So they're coming off of a nice win there, and they were winning most of the time. All right, Randy, we got it, brother. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week. Good luck to you, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys, and good luck to everybody out there.
All right, Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings, 296-0060, a full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly, professional services, which you get when you call 296-0060. Our great team, Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adria Galata, Michael Platt, buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds and Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Roca, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Back here at Roca Live at Lunch. Reminder, the happy hour here Tuesday through Friday, 2 until 6 p.m. Half off all of your house cocktails, draft beer, and all of your glasses of wine. And you asked a question to Randy, and I've been asked it. I'm sure you have too. What are you looking out of Kellen Moore? What would you expect? This is all I want out of the first year. And I'm not going to say wins and losses don't matter, because they matter a little bit, but they don't matter as much as they will later on. In the first year, here's what I want to see. I want to see, and a lot of this is front office related. How many contracts can you start to reasonably get your way out of to fix this mess? You're going to have to restructure some. Let's see how much of a minimum you can keep it to. How do you handle the draft? Are you not going to squander draft picks moving up for one player? And can you get some contributions in year one out of somebody that you don't take in the first round? Can there be some contributors out there? And if you can get some cheap free agents after they restructure some of these deals, so be it. And then what is your organization on game day? Do you look like you've got a cohesive plan? Do you look like, if you're overmatched, you're overmatched, and they're going to be overmatched in some games next year. But do you look like you've got a cohesive plan? Do you look like you're playing towards your strength? Do you look organized? Brandon Staley didn't look organized when he was with the Chargers. Nathaniel Hackett didn't look organized when he was with the Broncos.
Kellen Moore was part of it.
He was, okay, for 1 year.
Okay. Well,
so do you look
with
organized?
the Eagles 1 year.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Do you look like you have a cohesive plan to move forward? Or are you just going to kick your problems down the road one more time? And the Derek Carr thing is the
organization on game day is the coach's job. That's in his job description.
Yes.
You're asking the first part of what you're talking about, restructuring. That's Mickey Loomis's job.
It is. That's just part of what I'm looking for.
Okay, well, Mickey's been there, and so he's going to change. He's going to change all of a sudden?
Loomis has been there for 20 years. It hasn't all been bad. Everything since Breeze has left, I think Loomis's ego has done more damage than it's done positive for the franchise. But it doesn't mean he's never been successful. If he realizes, hey, you know what, we don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback anymore, and we gave it a shot with Derek Carr. Didn't work. Okay, now we're moving forward. New coach, fresh start. Let's see if we can get ourselves in some kind of shape financially.
That's Loomis's job. But
yes,
Kellen Moore's like, why? How do you? You said you want to see what Kellen Moore we're talking about.
I'm hoping that Kellen Moore has some influence in there. I'm hoping. Until I see differently, I can at least hope. If they trade up in the draft and they restructure 18 contracts and they're on the hook for another $70 million over the cap,
how are you going to know if he has influence?
I won't at the beginning. That's a fair question.
Why would he have influence?
Because he's a fresh voice. This is a little bit of a leap of faith. I understand that. Okay, but I don't want to just poo-poo all over it before it has a chance to start.
I'm holding this ball down, Charlie Brown. Come kick it.
I know.
Come on. What's insanity?
I know. They're doing the same thing.
Having the same. But he has. That's not Kellen Moore's job. Kellen Moore is going to be in a mood of appreciation because this man hired him. Somebody gives you the opportunity like this, one of these jobs, you're going to be appreciative and going to. Really? You're going to make waves with the guy that hired you?
If he's a 100% yes man and Loomis just runs this thing into the ground, we'll know. We'll know.
How do you get? I mean, do we have exact proof how much Peyton influenced?
No, we don't.
We don't. We have an idea. Of course we do.
We can look at this and see.
Okay.
Just baby steps forward, please. That's all I'm asking. Might be a little bit hopeful. Might be a little bit wishful thinking. Wishful drinking.
Good luck.
Sorry. Hour number 2, straight ahead from Roca. 104.5. I got to hope for something. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Roca Pizzeria, live at lunch. I'm vouching for the meatballs, man. We had a little meatball appetizer.
So good.
They were really good.
So good. And that's the thing, man. You have so many different menu options over here. I'm eyeing down that chicken cutlet sandwich. Really, really good stuff. So a lot a lot of great stuff over here at Roca Pizzeria. See some of the pizzas coming out of the wood-burning stove oven, so that's always good. But different pastas, just a little spaghetti and meatballs. Do Italian. The salads are outstanding. How about our iron skillet, mac and cheese, the Brussels sprouts? They're almost sweet. They're so fresh, man. Really, really good stuff. Lots of great wine selection. Of course, handcrafted cocktails are outstanding as well. We love coming over here once a month. Roca Pizzeria. I ordered here from Roca for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. Really good stuff. Had a prime rib during Christmas. Did the turkey with a lot of the sides. They do a great their scalloped potatoes side is outstanding. So a little bit of everything over here at Roca Pizzeria.
Good slate college basketball tonight. In the SEC, Vandy's going to Kentucky. It's a pretty short number for Vandy at Kentucky. Vandy recently went to Tennessee. It was a 5-point game. They were within shouting distance of Florida when they went there 2 weeks ago. That game ended 11, but Vandy they didn't get run out of the gym.
No. They were very competitive in that game.
If you go back further than that, there's an inexplicable 30-point loss at Oklahoma. I don't get that one.
They were up like 12 in that game too.
Really?
Oh yeah. What's they scored? I think Oklahoma scored 60 in the second half.
Yeah.
Oh really?
97-67 was the final. So, wow. And then they got blown out in Tuscaloosa, but I'm not gonna ding them for that. So, going to Kentucky tonight, like I said.
Here's the read, Charlie. Yeah. He's a guy, and he's out. Lamont Butler, and I mean, it's a big deal. And they really don't have a point guard, and so that's why this line. If Lamont Butler was in there, I think this thing would be 7.5, 8. I think he's that big of a difference on both ends of the floor, like we talk about. Somehow, some way, they went to Tennessee and beat them. I mean, now I think that was your boy Ziegler's game where he went 1 for 11, from 3-point range.
Yeah.
So it's in Vandy that's respect. But I think what's really knocking it down, because basically we get 5 points to Rupp Arena. Hell yeah,
sure.
But this is a game that I'm impressed with this new Vandy coach. I'm sorry. 1, in his roster build in 1 year, and 2, how they play. I mean. Yeah, they've got a couple of slip-ups in there that you pointed out, but they've got a lot of they have hung in this brutally tough conference.
They're a solid basketball team.
Oh, yes, they got a little ability, man.
Yes.
It's not like they just got they had the Hoosiers roster out there. No, they got some guys that can create off the bounce. They got some guys with some length, that are presence at both ends of the floor. And I just I think they moved the ball a lot. That loss in Florida, I was really impressed with them. That was one where I was really, really. I said, "Man, this is a well-coached team." I was telling Massero that during that game. Yeah.
You know what they're going to end up? They're going to end up being like a 10 seed in the tournament, and somebody's going to look at them and go, "Man, they look better than that." Because whoever they play as a 7 seed probably ain't going to be as good as who they play night in, night out in the SEC.
Without Lamont Butler, they're a live dog tonight. To win outright.
Yeah. Arkansas going to Auburn tonight. Auburn coming off that that big win on the road at Tuscaloosa. Arkansas had won 3 out of 4. They lost to Texas A&M this past weekend. A&M got in. Arkansas covered that by 0.5 point. They hung in there and lost that game by 8. They go to Auburn tonight. They are a massive underdog, though, 15.5 at the Jungle.
Big win, right? Saturday?
Yes.
Huge win.
Yep.
And little hangover effect?
Well, that's
or are they old and mature and they were going to come out and just...
Did I not see 17 when I woke up this morning
yes,
somewhere around 6:30? So this line's come down a little bit this morning.
Yeah, this was one of my picks on the podcast was Arkansas. And I just think that both teams involved in that game on Saturday, it's a historic game, man.
Yes.
I think both are going to be a little light in the, little intensity, emotion, tank. I don't see. There was a lot of hype for that game, man. A lot of pomp and circumstance, and man, that place was popping, man. And that's just that's just a little hangover spot maybe here for Auburn. And I respect their intensity, their focus. They usually don't take anybody lightly. I don't think they're going to take Arkansas lightly, but I just think it's natural. If you used a little bit more emotion, it's college sports. It's football and basketball. You're going to be a little light there when it comes. And I like the way Arkansas is the post-injury Arkansas, the new and improved. And I'm not expecting them to play like they did in Rupp, every game. But they lost by 8 to Texas A&M at College Station on Saturday. They were in that game. They were competitive.
They did. They hung
so
in.
I think they're playing better ball. Maybe addition by subtraction, but they're more talented player. He's out, and they seem to be moving the ball better. But they're certainly committed on the defensive end more than what we saw early in the season. And I thought there was a poorly coached team at one time. They're I don't know. All of a sudden, Calipari's. They're listening to him. They're playing smarter, Charlie, than what they were earlier in the year.
And I don't expect this game to be the one that makes the difference unless they win it. But they are squarely on the bubble. They are the last in the group of last 4 in right now with Lenardi. They're 43 net. They're not going to get dinged too bad for losing at Auburn. If they won it would be a massive win. They've still got other games that are more important to them. What about the other team that comes out of that game on Saturday? That's Alabama. They're going to Missouri.
Same thing. I think even when you lose, I think there's going to be a little light in emotion. I love Missouri. This line was projected to be a pick. It's 1.5.
Missouri 1.5.
Yeah. But look, I'm kind of going against one of my theories because I think Bama handles the road games a little bit better than most. I mean, we have my theory is, they're committed offensive style. They're going to play, and whether they're in a shooting slump, they're hot, they're on the road, they're home. It just takes a little bit less stress out of some of the guesswork when you go on the road and just being a little unnerved. They know exactly what they're going to run. And but man, this Missouri team is good. They're good, man. They went to Tennessee, Charlie. Tennessee, they're pretty good defensively, huh? Tennessee shot the lights out.
Yeah.
The lights out in that game, and Missouri lost by 5. I mean, this is a good team. We're talking about it. Forget 0-18 last year. It's over. I think they're going to be popping tonight in Columbia. I like Missouri. It might be my favorite pick tonight. And, again, I usually take Bama on the road, not tonight.
Alabama off of losses has been very good. They lost to Purdue, came back and beat Illinois by 13. They lost to Oregon, came back and beat North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Now, that win doesn't look nearly as good as it did back in November.
Right.
They lost to Ole Miss. They went to Rupp and won the next game, and then this is the 4th loss of the season. So they have bounced back every time. We'll see if they can.
We usually think it's, the court storm fade or the field rush fade. Do you buy into my theory that even something this type of historic game that both teams can be a little light?
Sure. They put a lot into that game.
Because sometimes you lose and we listen to the coach more when you lose. The coaches have to capitalize, bouncing back after a loss, and Oates has done that. But this was a different game than those other ones.
It was a 40-minute game despite the score.
They
were busting. Also, one little note. I don't know if this means anything. Kentucky's coming to Tuscaloosa Saturday. So they're still Kentucky. They're maybe not a top 10 team, but they're still Kentucky.
And 2 more games that you failed to mention outside the SEC. SMU lost at home to double digits they were on the right side of the bubble. Wake Forest is outside. Wake went in, beat them. So I like SMU to bounce back at in South Bend. Shrewsbury, it's an odd press conference, huh?
I thought it was awful. And I really liked him. I loved him at Penn State. I thought he did a great job over there.
Basically tell him, if nobody comes to the games. And
you don't want to come to see our 3-7 products, so don't ever come back. I thought he's like, don't come when we're winning. Man, look, you got to have – when Mulkey did it's Mulkey. She's one of one. You can't pull that when you're at Notre Dame. You're the second-best sport, and you're losing.
Check out his career record. He's lost everywhere he's gone.
The last couple of years at Penn State were pretty good. And I don't remember what he did to begin.
He had a losing record.
Did he? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I thought you go out and you berate your customers. I thought it was bad. I thought it was really bad.
You insult your customers. Your fan base.
Oh, well, I'm going to go out now.
So LSU's not the only one that draws more for their women. So
right.
I thought
that was bad.
I like SMU to bounce back. They are in tricky spot for the Red Storm. DePaul was one of the most improved teams in the country this year. They got St. John's at home, where all of those, they had a big win, come from behind win against Creighton, a gutsy win on Sunday. They've had such big games. They lost a tight win on a buzzer beater in Villanova, in Philadelphia. And now this little sleepy spot going to DePaul. It might be more competitive than you think.
DePaul makes me sad. You know why? This is one of those teams that. This is one of the teams of my youth, Some of the first college basketball games I remember watching on television was Ray Meyer and DePaul. They were a juggernaut.
WGN would give us some midweek games, with DePaul.
And they've been so bad for so long. They're the shadow of the program that once was.
And I think it's only going to get tougher for the Big East, the basketball-only schools.
And you used to be able to go into Chicago and get some talent.
Well, no, they got talent in Chicago.
I know, but they're not going to DePaul.
No, they're not. No. But if you get the right coach in there, what was St. John's doing when they hired Patino?
And it's been a long.
You don't think he could win at DePaul?
Yeah,
I promise you, he could.
Patino could win just about anywhere. And we did this when St. John's won the other day. It'd be 20 years since they won a tournament game.
He is setting the record this year for bringing another. I think it's like 7 now. 7 schools to the tournament. Boston, Providence, Kentucky, Louisville, Iona, St. John's will be 6. Is that 6?
6, I think. Yeah.
Is that 6? I just counted. Am I missing any?
That sounds right. I'm just trying to go through it in my head, but yeah, that sounds right. You saw what else they did at St. John's? They played Marquette in the last game of the season. It was supposed to be on campus. They're going to move it to the Garden.
Oh, dude, they feed off of the crowd, their defensive intensity. That crowd really gets into it when they get a shot clock violation, a turn. They really that's their thing, man.
The on-campus arena is about a third of the capacity of the Garden. So it's like, it's a big game. We're going to move it to the Garden.
Yeah, they play a few of their games. It's not.
It's not the only one.
One of the big ones. I think they play. No, they played Marquette earlier at the Garden.
It's UConn. It's not Marquette.
Okay, yeah. No, they played Marquette already.
Yeah, it's UConn. They moved to the Garden.
There you go, Charlie. Mardi Gras, Charlie.
Mardi Gras coming soon.
Yes, it is. Hey, don't forget our friends downtown at Town Square Pizza. They've got the Charlie. How you like your Mardi Gras king cake?
I did some more research. Okay, in addition to the cinnamon, which is the standard.
Yes.
Chocolate chip.
Yes.
Cream cheese.
Yes.
Praline.
Oh, okay.
I got your attention yet? Chocolate chip and cream cheese mixed together.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah,
that's me.
Call ahead, and they'll have a whole pie for you. You can get it by the slice when you go down there. But if you want a whole cake, call ahead. Ask Elizabeth will take care of you down there.
And
delicious.
Artemis Orion ball this Saturday. Give the name and table number at the time of ordering. The king cakes will be waiting when your guests arrive at the Mardi Gras ball this weekend. They did it for the Spanish Town this past weekend. Order before noon on day or before the event. Contact GM at townsquarepizza.net or call them up 408-8088. 408-8088. And again, they're available on their Facebook pages where Town Square Pizza, King Cakes, Charlie highly recommends them.
Live at Roca, live at lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
When I asked Wes Reynolds last week about Aubert, I'm like, when's he going to break through in a big one? One of these elevated events. Wes said it's just a matter of time. Days.
4 days.
Yes, it's good. 4 days, James. Good. Thank you, Wes. Our other contributors had Aubert as well. So, man, we're happy around here.
Yeah, I wish I had the foresight to go ahead and bet him on an outright instead of just placement market. But he was the one that concerned me that wasn't on my outright card because he had that little illness that he had at the Farmers a couple weeks ago. He was the first-round leader. That was on the North course, though, and then he kind of fell apart the rest of the event and then withdrew from Pebble Beach. So a little bit of uncertainty, but I should have embraced that because you don't have the bellyache for 3 weeks necessarily. So I wish I was on him, but congrats to those who were.
It looked like McNeely had it in hand, though, huh, Wes?
Yeah, it did. And McNeely, he's a guy that I frequently bet over the years and certainly has the talent, but didn't have the confidence. And he finally got that win at the RSM at the end of the year. And we saw him have a good round on Saturday at Phoenix, just couldn't duplicate it in the final round. And Detry was well far away the class of the field that weekend. But McNeely's a more confident player now, so I'm not going to be surprised if you're going to see him feature on more leaderboards, at least a lot more frequently.
Even the most casual golf observer like myself can appreciate just the beautiful swing that Ludwig has, and I would assume you're, like most, this is just the first of many, like, signature type of wins. I mean, he's very promising future, huh?
Yeah, we saw him last year at the Masters. Played
right,
very well.
Up, yeah.
Played very well at the U.S. Open as well. Kind of the first time in a final group at a major, was a little shaky on Saturday, and then fell off the pace a little bit. But yeah, he's got the game, and he's got the distance off the tee. He's got a beautiful golf swing, like you mentioned, and he never seems to get rattled very much. You don't see the expression. He's very much like the Iceman. Kind of like Henrik Stenson used to be, a former great Swedish player, where nothing seems to really faze him. The expression doesn't change. He's usually got a pretty happy demeanor, and I think it works for him.
I have to ask you, Wes, about Scheffler. Where do you think he is right now? He's kind of hooking a lot. He's missing a lot of fairways. He hasn't had a round like Saturday since the adrenaline wore off in Kentucky or a U.S. Open, which it's hard to, shoot under par anyway. This is what's your thoughts on where he is right now?
Yeah, I still think he's in okay shape. I just think it was only going to be natural that there was going to be a little bit of regression from last year, because that ball striking season, if you look at all the stats where he led in terms of approach and greens and regulation and proximity and all the stats that we look at every single week, that was a historic ball striking season. And it's just so hard to duplicate that. Even
I got you. Okay.
As he is. So, even as talented as he is, you can't really duplicate that. I think he's still going to be a frequent winner, but how many times did he win last year? That's a historic year, so it's hard to do that back to back, and then plus coming off that hand surgery.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the hand surgery. Just a little bit. I mean, he unlike Aubert, he doesn't have a smooth swing. I mean, he's all over the place. But I mean, he's I just wonder if how much of an effect that's playing. All right, we go to the Mexico Open this weekend, and so Batia is the favorite, around plus 1,400. Who are we looking at, Wes?
Yeah, and he's probably the rightful choice in what I think is a really downfield, this buffer event between the West Coast swing and then the Florida swing. Starts at the Honda Classic down in Palm Beach, or the old Honda Classic, I should say, down in Palm Beach. But, yeah, I didn't really go with a lot of the favorites this week. I actually started with a 40-1 player, and that's Alex Smalley, who I saw referred to. I was reading an article. I saw him referred to as the Prince of Paspalum, which is the type of grass that they are playing on this week down there at Puerto Vallarta. And what that grass is, it doesn't have a lot of rollout. It's pretty sticky and smooth. So a lot of these shots are not going to get a lot of bounces. They hit the greens and they're going to stick and not have a lot of spin. And Alex Smalley can get it out there off the tee. He was 6 on debut here a couple years ago. Proven record on this service, was runner-up at the Corrales Punta in the Dominican Republic. Very similar greens and surface to this one. 21st or better in 3 of his 4 starts this year. He was in the final group on Saturday a few weeks ago at the Waste Management. So he is playing very good golf. Nikolai Højgaard, 50-1. Played here a couple times before, never really contended, but he did make the cut. Runner-up at the Corrales Punta Cana as well. Won at Pasalheima over there in the Emirates on the Paspalum. So certainly capable. Was 7th for the field on stroke gain approach with his irons a couple weeks ago at the Waste Management. And then we'll go with another Swede this week. Maybe we're going to get back-to-back Swedes on the PGA Tour, and we'll go Jesper Svensson at 66-1, who actually was Ludwig's teammate on the European Amateur Team Championship back in 2018. He won in Singapore for me on the DP World Tour last year, also on the Paspalum. So earned his PGA Tour card this season. Really big hitter off the tee, was top 10 at the Sony in Hawaii. And then we went with some bombs here and bombers, because guys that really get it out there off the tee. This is a grip it type of place. Really wide fairways, very long course. How about Aldrich Potgieter, the South African, 70-1, who won the British Amateur a couple of years ago at the age of 17. Won on the Corn Ferry last year, played very well to finish 2024. Remember, he was in the mix at the Farmers, ended up finishing 15th, despite the fact that he led off the tee and also led in driving distance. Cam Kim, another guy, 80-1, very good on the Paspalum, 8th year last year, 56th at the Corrales Punta Cana. Really good on approach, and also really good from 200 yards and out. And the majority of the shots are going to be 175 and further, and the plurality is going to be 200 yards away from the pin on those approaches, and he's very good at that. And then 3 real long ones here. Chris Ventura, 90-1, was actually raised in Mexico until the age of 12. He's a Norwegian, and remember, he was teaming with Victor Hovland at Oklahoma State. Guy that was on the PGA Tour a few years ago, didn't quite fit, had to go back to the Corn Ferry and kind of regroup, and certainly did with P4 at the Farmers a couple weeks ago. So I think that he could go well. And then a couple of triple-digit guys, Ricky Castillo at 110-1 and Hayden Springer at 120-1. Both those guys also played well at Torrey Pines. Ricky Castillo ended up T21. Hayden Springer ended up 6th. Guys that can really bomb it. Ricky Castillo, by the way, won on debut last summer on the Corn Ferry Tour. So top 10 in total driving and ball striking at the Farmers. And then Hayden Springer, this is kind of a narrative street play. He actually had to qualify to get into this event last week. 120-1. Very good on the Paspalum, with 3rd in Puerto Rico last year. Big game off the tee. So that's what you're going to want to look at, I think, this week, are guys that can really get it out there. So you've got to look at the driving distance, you've got to look at the carry distance, and those guys are going to tend to flourish here.
Wow. How about that? Hayden Springer, all 3 of our contributors on him, and minimum 100-1 this week. So would you suggest, when you come like that, Max was talking about he's got a fixed number where he wants to win exactly, and then he'll lower the bets based on, the odds to try and, whether it's he wants to win the same amount on a 24-1 as 100-1. Better. Will you do any type of ladders where you do, win top 5, top 10, top 20s, Wes?
That's basically what I do, and I usually live in, I know people want the big prices, but I live in that mid-range where it's top 20s, top 30s, and top 40s, and I think in an event like this where it's really wide open, where, with all due respect to Axie, he's a very good player, you don't have that world-class player at the top, where you have like a Rory, or you have a Scotty Scheffler, or Xander Schauffele, or somebody like that. So, that's where I think you want to be a little careful and kind of live in that mid-range, maybe be a little bit more conservative. And look, there's a lot of weeks, everybody's talked about, hey, you've hit 3 golf outrights already. There's a lot of weeks where you get a dry spell and you don't hit outright. So placement markets are what really help you make the money, because it's impossible to hit the outrights pretty much every single week.
Top 5 is plus 1,600 at our local shop, DraftKings Outlet, the Queen Casino. And top 10 is plus 700 on Hayden Springer. A solid card tonight in college hoops. Who we got tonight, Wes?
Yeah, I got the Bearcats tonight at plus 4 against West Virginia. But they've been scoring the ball. They've been scoring in the 80s and the 90s. The last 3 games before, they only scored 70 at Iowa State. But Iowa State's one of the better defensive teams in the country. Cincinnati right now on the outside looking in. West Virginia, I think, just on the right side of the bubble right now. They got taken apart about 3 weeks ago by West Virginia. Only scored 50 at home against the Mountaineers. But Cincinnati found something with that offense. What I think they found is Jizzle James, Edgerrin James' son, is really playing his best basketball of his career, shooting the ball really well. Cincinnati is one of those many teams that got maybe 1 or 2 quad 1 wins, but they're going to need to pick up a couple more, I think, if they want a shot to make it the NCAA tournament. So Cincinnati plus 4 for me. West Virginia kind of maybe peaked early and has declined late. Part of that is the fact they've got a couple injuries, including Tucker DeVries, of course, the coach's son being out for the season. So I like the Bearcats plus 4 tonight down there in a very tough place to play in Morgantown.
Yes, how many games have they been out? The DeVries has been out. I'm trying to see because they've lost 6 of 8. So I think it was right around that time. So West Virginia a little bit on a slide as well. So, all right, Wes, we appreciate it, buddy. Good luck, man. Let's keep it going. Are you back active on X? Did you get Elon on the phone?
Not yet. I'm still trying to go through every process that I possibly can, and it's a slow and arduous one.
What the hell is going on?
I don't know, man. Well, I guess the guy that owns it is busy doing other stuff from what I hear on the news. But
he's got his plate full a little
he's
bit.
Got a few budget things.
All the people that just got let go, how about maybe hire them for customer service jobs at X? That would be my suggestion.
Fair point, Wes. That is fair.
I'd ask our friend Jacques Doucet for advice because he got his hacked and lost his account,
really?
which had I don't know what the exact number was, but it was a huge number of followers, and tried for a couple of months to get his account back, and I think finally gave up and just started over again. So you're not the only one. I wish I had better news for you that,
that may be what we have to do, Charlie.
Yeah, well, he did it because he had built that account for a long time. He laid it out. He clicked on a link that said he had a copyright infringement, and it cost him his whole account and couldn't get it back. So I hope your luck's a little bit better.
Captain Positive over here, Charlie Hannegriff. So
I deal in reality, Jimmy. In reality.
Oh wait, he deals with
cynicism.
He deals with his reality. You should have just heard his Saints take, Wes. Yes.
That was wishful. That was wishful thinking.
Okay.
I admitted that.
Okay. Thank you, Wes. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you, fellas.
All right, Wes Reynolds with his picks again. Alex Smalley, Nikolai Hogard, Jesper Svensson, Potgieter. How about when Wes said, well, of course you remember the corn. Yes, I remember Potgieter's, his past.
Seemed like I'd have remembered that name, though.
Podgieter. Potgieter?
Is he from Delcom? Gato?
John Kim. Chankim. He's all over. Christopher Ventura. Man, this is some.
Those guys ain't from Franklin.
You know what I feel like? I feel like Buddy D doing the Wimbledon scores.
Yes. Tough week.
But when we come back, Max is going to join us. He's free, and he's going to give us his picks as well. We'll compare. We got several common picks and a unanimous one for another win for us last week for our Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown Golf Consensus Picks. We'll have them back when we come back here live from Roca, live at lunch. Charlie?
We are also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial partners, because when it comes to retirement, there's no two situations alike. Coastal Capital Advisors will work with you, your business partners, your legal team, and tax professionals to make sure your goals are achieved. Coastal Capital Advisors will work for you, and I can tell you for sure because they work for me. For more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his staff at 337-981-1376. Online, coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisor Securities offered through New Edge Securities. Member FINRA, SIPC. Live at Roca, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Thibodaux Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. Talking about home improvements and things that you could fix yourself if you just had a little bit of guidance and save some money. This is where the Thibodaux Store staff comes in, because any of those projects, they could point you in the right direction. It's a lot easier than working with a YouTube video when you can actually ask questions, get guidance. You're not going to waste time on bad procedures. You're not going to waste money on supplies that you don't need. So if it's small carpentry, plumbing, or electrical things that you can do yourself, let the Thibodaux Store help you out. Huge selections of grills, big green egg cookers, as well as crawfish and jambalaya pots, custom-made cypress furniture, things you can't get anywhere else. Check them out at the Thibodaux Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway. Also, lots of items available for delivery online and great discounts there as well. You can check that out at ThibodauxStore.com. The Thibodaux Store.
Our Wednesday consensus golf picks are brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
All right, let's bring on Max and get his contributions. Nice hit last week on Aubert. Max with the birdie on 18. And Love the way he plays, man. No hesitation for the biggest win of his young career. He sure doesn't play with any pace that gives you any indication that he might be stressed.
Yeah, the sky's the limit now, hopefully for him. I mean, he's got a high ceiling. He's composed. He showed that finally in a big event and broke through. But his game is elite. It's up there with, in terms of prospects. When Victor Hovland came out on tour, when John Rahm came out on tour, Scheffler's kind of the same way. It took him a while to finally break through. I'm not saying he's going to be Scotty Scheffler, but yeah, it was an elite performance, and it's great to finally do it on the big stage with one of the best fields in golf.
Wes's thoughts on Scheffler right now is that he's, that year is just hard to duplicate. That high level of ball striking.
No doubt, golf is challenging. It's hard to be at your top form for as long as he did. It's amazing that he was able to do so. I know we've talked about it before, the expectations for the over-under on his major win total. I still think it's 5.5, probably 6.5 would be a fair one. He's going to win some more Masters. He's been so great at Augusta National. He'll win more, but we've seen it time and time again with the John Rahms, the Jordan Spieth, even Brooks Koepka. At times the game comes and then it disappears, and that's going to happen. Scheffler's still been outstanding. I mean, he's still playing great golf. He played poorly by his standards at Torrey and still finished in the top 5 where he had a real chance to win. But he's battling a bit of a left miss right now, which could be problematic for him. He's very used to taking out one side of the golf course, and he's missing a little bit left, which is uncommon for him. So it's gotten him a little frustrated, and we'll see if he can get over that.
All right, Max, let's start here. Follow my lead on this, and let's go through, first of all, our unanimous pick. All 3 of our contributors, including yourself, have Hayden Springer at 100-1.
Yeah, this is an interesting one just because one of the things that I'm looking for this week, you have to be a long hitter, which he is. It's a long golf course. It's driver heavy. There's not a whole lot of penalty. You have to miss the water. There's quite a bit of ponds out there, but you might as well grip it and rip it. And that's very similar to a course we've seen twice now in the last month at Torrey Pines. And Hayden Springer is a guy who played well at the Farmers Insurance Open just back at the end of January, a few weeks ago. He finished in 6th place. He was there in the mix, just 4 off of Harris English, the winner. So he's someone who's played well there. He just suits this golf course. A good long iron player, which is going to be important this week. He's had some similar courses, comp courses as well, where he's played well. So just makes a lot of sense for a long hitter on a long golf course at pretty good odds.
All right, another one. Both you and Wes have Nikolai Hogard at the Queen. He's 40-1.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. He's a twin brother to Rasmus, who is one of the favorites, which is interesting because last week at Torrey, he was abysmal. He finished dead last, 82-77, and yet he's one of the top 3 favorites this week. But it's actually his twin brother who was a former Ryder Cupper. I mean, he participated in the last Ryder Cup, Nikolai. He's a bit inconsistent throughout his career, but a similar game in terms of hitting the ball far, has had success in the past at Torrey Pines. He didn't play this year, but did finish runner-up last season. So another guy who kind of fits the golf course, hits it long. He's actually, if you're a model guy, he's going to pop off really well because he's a long hitter who also plays well on par 3s. There are 5 par 3s this week. A good long iron player, makes quite a bit of birdies. So he suits this golf course as well. He's going to pop off in the models, even though his recent finishes haven't really shown that.
Another one that you and Wes both have, Christopher Ventura. Charlie, it's spelled Christoph.
I knew that.
Yeah, okay. It's Kristoffer. Christopher Ventura, 90-1. Why, Max?
Well, it's interesting. I just heard the end of Wes talking about Jesper Svensson, who was a roommate with Ludvig Åberg from Sweden. There's an interesting connection here. Christoph Ventura is from Norway, went to Oklahoma State to play with fellow Norwegian Victor Hovland. So there's that similar connection of good prospects from the same country playing together over their careers. And, one of them's clearly the class of the two of them. Åberg's the class of the Swedes, and Hovland clearly had more success from Norway. But Ventura's a long hitter as well, really long, one of the longer hitters. And I mentioned at Torrey Pines. I'm looking for success at Torrey Pines. He finished tied for 4th a few weeks ago. So we'll see. He hasn't had great success on Paspalum courses over recent years. He's only played about 4 times on this Paspalum grass. But, again, great course fit. At a similar golf course, he's had success just a month ago.
All right. And, you and Jeff both have Hayden Springer.
Yeah, we just talked about him. I think we all three have.
I'm sorry, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. I'm looking. All right, the other golfers that you have that you mentioned, but just your picks by themselves. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Sam Stevens is the real low choice I'm going with. I don't really like any of the favorites, but he's the one who sticks out. He's going as high as 27-1, pretty much 25, 22-1 market wide, but also a long enough hitter. But he's had recent success on the Paspalum greens. I know Wes mentioned that earlier. It's a different type of grass. It's a little stickier, so it's very different around the greens. You have to be a different type of chipper. The putting is a lot different. It's just unique to them. He's finished tied for 3rd at the Punta Cana Championship, which is on that surface, and the Worldwide Technology Championship back in November. He finished in tied for 6th. So these coastal courses can sometimes play the same, these tropical courses. He's had decent success at those in the past, and he's a long enough hitter to where it makes sense for him. He's a great long iron player, makes some birdies, finished 2nd, runner-up at the Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines, so another great comp course fit here. So Sam Stevens at 27-1. And then Ryan Gerard at 90-1 is another play that I looked at. Kind of a late add to me, just because I had room for him. I didn't really like any of the favorites, but he's got promoted from the Korn Ferry Tour where he won once last year. He's had 4 PGA Tour events. He's made the cut in all of them. He's not the longest of hitters, but he has had an elite stretch of approach play, so his iron play has been very good and just pops off for me. A good long iron player, which, like I said, it's a long golf course, so no matter how far you hit it, you're going to have 200 yards in some of these greens, and you have to be able to hit those shots very well, which he's done pretty well in the past. Makes enough birdies to where we'll see the winning score around 20, 22 under par. To Ryan Gerard, who hasn't had a ton of success, only one professional win to his name. That was on the DP World Tour, or the Korn Ferry Tour, actually. But this just seems like a good course for him, and at 90-1, I think that's a fair shout.
What's the the one that you were not a part of, Alex Smalley. I'm looking at 35-1 at the Queen. Any comments on Jeff and Wes's pick there?
Yeah, it makes sense. Wes mentioned how great he is on Paspalum. That's certainly been a factor. I immediately recognized his name when this came up just because of that. It seems like he's a little bit popular, though, because we've seen a bit of a negative drift on the odds board. I think you could have seen as high as 45, 50-1. There have been certain guys that a lot of people are on because they're long hitters, and so they've been very popular. And so we've seen a bit of a drift. Nikolai Højgaard being one who opened at 50-1. He's down to 40. I'm sticking with him, but Smalley was one I just had a can because I think the odds have now adjusted accurately, so I don't think there's much value left, but I certainly see the case for him.
All right, so 4 picks for our Dana Brown consensus golf picks this week. Hayden Springer, unanimous pick at 100-1. Nikolai Højgaard at 40-1. Christopher Ventura at 90-1. And Alex Smalley at 35-1. Springer, Højgaard, Ventura, and Smalley down at Punta Cana, not Punta Cana. Max.
No. So Punta Cana, that's a different golf course. This is the Vedanta World in Vallarta, Mexico.
Mess with him on your Mexican golf courses. He knows.
It's every A in Spanish is pronounced ah. My friend, trust me.
He knows. Vedanta. He may not say it right, but he knows where it is, and he knows which way the wind's blowing.
Well, you know what I know too?
What's that?
When people are famous, they name babies after them.
Yeah.
Okay. What do they name dogs after? People are famous?
Sports heroes.
Or dogs? Or just kind of guys that mad?
Just depends on. A lot of people name dogs after their favorite sports players.
Okay.
So, just depends on who you are.
The top 10 dog names in 2024.
Is Max number 1?
Number 2 is Charlie.
Okay.
And number 1 is Max.
That's perfect. Well, Max is because of the Grinch. The Grinch named his dog Max.
Would you say that
I got no reason.
I'm surrounded by fleas?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Carly, they name them after their favorite handicappers.
Yes, thank you. Hey, safe travels, Max. Say hello to Spike Lee for us.
You're going to the Big Apple.
Going to Garden tomorrow
the
night.
Mecca. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, he's going to see Knicks and who they playing tomorrow night?
Bulls.
It should be a blowout. But
you're sitting next to Spike, right? You're sitting right next to Spike?
Not quite. Not quite. I'll be able to see his very bright colored glasses, I'm sure, from where I am. But I don't know if I'll say hello.
About 50 rows up. All right.
Have fun, Max. Be
careful.
safe.
Safe travels.
Indeed. You'll love the cold weather. He loves that cold. Number 1 dog name. You too. What the hell am I doing?
I don't even know how you looked that up, how you came across that information.
It was sent to me.
Consensus Golf Picks brought to you by Dana Brown.
At the law offices of O.C. Brown, 343-1111 at ocbrown.com. Never a charge for that initial consultation. We're not trained attorneys. We don't know if we're entitled to more, if our rights are being infringed upon. That's why you take advantage of that free initial consultation. Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com.
Live at Roca, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Are the 10 most popular male dog names in 2024.
For crying out loud.
10, Oliver. 9, Teddy. 8, Leo. 7, Finn. 6, Rocky. 5,
Rocky.
Buddy.
We know a Buddy.
4, Milo. 3, Cooper. 2, Charlie, and the most popular dog name is Max.
Where's Jimmy?
Where's Jimmy? I want to know who's conducting this research. I want to know where you're getting your info from.
I can't release that.
Yeah.
Any good reporter never gives up their resources.
We're dealing with faulty info here, I think.
Surrounded by fleas.
Max is just because of the Grinch. I know where that.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the Grinch's dog was named Max. You didn't know that, right?
I did not know that.
Okay,
I remember that.
Trusty dog.
Maybe that little dog. Yeah.
Yeah, the dog that he made.
Right.
Pull the gigantic sled. His trusty dog Max.
Trusty dog Max.
Yeah. LSU baseball tonight in Thibodaux. Dress warm if you're going. 43 degrees at first pitch. 15-mile-an-hour wind from the north. I'm actually not sure what direction that. See, that's why we need Max here. He tell me exactly which direction. But it's going to be cold. I know that. As LSU.
Auburn's down a piece tonight. Against Arkansas. Chad Baker-Mazara has been removed from the SEC availability report for Auburn. So he was at game time decision on Saturday against Alabama. Looks like he may be out tonight.
That line is currently 15.5, yeah. So holding at 15.5. NFL salary cap came out today, or at least they gave them the range, somewhere between 277 and 281. It's not going to mean a lot to you, except that that's a little bit higher than what most of the experts thought it was going to be. Just a little bit higher, so maybe a little bit.
I missed one. I need to add to our consensus list, Ricky Castillo. Both Wes and Max had him, so that makes 5. Ricky Castillo, just like the pitcher, he is at 110-1.
And if you want, you can name your dog Ricky, if that's what, is on your radar. Thanks to the folks at Roca Pizzeria.
Dog Charlie.
Tomorrow we return to Sammy's. Come get your crawfish tomorrow at Sammy's on Highland Road. For Jimmy and for Jordan, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you, good afternoon, and stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN.